And I feel like the more that you have people surrounding you, supporting your vision, then that's
Mhm.
how your confidence sort of starts to build.
All right, cool. Well, Tamika, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. You've been such a great inspiration for me. Just hearing about your whole success in the industry, and also what you're doing with CDDP, and helping, commercial aspiring commercial directors who haven't had a chance before get into the business and just find ways to learn more on how to become a commercial director, especially from the POC community, from people who have voices and stories and messages that they want to be heard but never given a chance. So I would love for you to just introduce yourself, your history as a filmmaker, and how you got into CDDP.
Sure. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So let's see. I'm Tamika Lamison. I am a filmmaker. I run a nonprofit also called Make a Film Foundation, which
Nice.
is sort of like Make a Wish, but we make short films with kids who are terminally ill or seriously ill and people in the film industry.
Oh,
And
wow.
then that's kind of partially how I got into the CDDP as well. So I've been, doing filmmaking myself for a long time, and then I created this foundation, and it's sort of like, because that's how I became an exec. I was an exec of my own foundation, which
Wow.
technically I kind of look at it like a nonprofit film company, which
Hmm.
is essentially what it is. And so I actually was working at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in their educational department, helping them to create another program that sort of, it's called the Academy Gold Program.
Okay.
And it's a fellowship program, internship, all that kind of stuff. So kind of similar in nature, but not the same kind of components. And the chief executive in diversity over at the DGA, uh, Frank Gonzalez, is a friend of mine, and he's known me for a lot of years because I first met him when he was sort of running the Disney Fellowship a few years
Mhm.
ago, and I got into the Disney Fellowship. So we've stayed in contact. And then when this job at the CDDP came up, he was like, "I think I have the perfect job for you, and you should definitely apply for it." And the crazy thing was, I was transitioning out of my exec type of status. Like I was like, okay, well, I'm
Mm.
done with the corporate world, even though it was corporate creative. And I was, I love that I was making a difference and it was corporate creative versus just strictly corporate,
Right.
but I was transitioning out of that world. And, my mom was like, "Do you have another job?"
Always, always the
You,
creative person's first
no.
question.
And I was like, "Actually, I don't." She was like, "Well, maybe you should just throw your hat in the ring." And she said, "It seems right up your alley." So I looked at the qualifications and what they want, and I was like, "Wow." It's like it was totally written for me. I have to apply. So, my ancestors knocked me on the head and was like, "Yeah, we are doing this for you." Like,
Yes.
okay, I guess I better listen. And then I got the job and I love it. I mean, it was amazing. It's like I'm able to make a difference, which I love, and support directors, which I love. I was trying to go back into my just strictly creative space, but I feel like, my purpose really is in the world of making a difference and storytelling and all of that other stuff. So whenever I can do all of that, it's great, which is what the CDDP is. I guess we should say what that is. So it's called the
Yeah.
Commercial Directors Diversity Program. And it was created during negotiations between the DGA and the AICP, to basically help bring women and other historically underrepresented directors into the commercial space. So that's really what it is. We can break down a little bit more about what it is a little bit later if you like. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I write for a show called Monogamy that's on You can find it on Amazon Prime and the Urban Movie Channel. I've been writing for it for 3 years. So
That's incredible. And so, do you feel that everything that you've been doing with your filmmaking career and then getting into CDDP and then helping with the Make a Film Foundation or whatnot, like, what is it about film and commercials do you feel is so powerful and storytelling? Why is it so powerful to you?
So, I mean, anytime you can share your voice on a wide scale, it makes an impact. One,
Mm,
because, what people can relate, like it's all about like people relating to something that you put out there. But it's also just about people being able to understand who you are or understand your situation or something that maybe they don't have a direct, contact with or direct experience, but being able to empathize and sympathize. That's why I think it's so important for underrepresented communities, to have that voice and to have those images so that we can sort of, at least, if not control the images, at least
mm.
contribute to the truth and the authenticity of that space in our world and what it's like to be us.
It's
Really.
so true. I actually had a really great interview with my friend, and we talked about how it's really important to teach people and ourselves how to be digital media literate so we can be participants in the global conversation. Because when you prevent certain classes or communities from access to the internet or a video camera, then how are you ever going to hear their stories, especially in this digital age? And before that, we didn't when there was no internet, you needed to get a manager, you needed to get an agent.
Right.
It was so difficult. And so explain to people, back before the internet, to all our Gen Z the listeners out there, what was the
So
process?
you're assuming that I was alive before the no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly. Tamika, she's actually a millennial. That's a YouTuber that has an amazing channel about filmmaking.
Okay. Um, well, it's crazy because I'll say back in the day,
Mhm,
back
mhm.
in the day when there was no internet really, and you really did have to have like I guess what do you call them? Toll, like there's like people between you and getting to an audience and people
Right.
between you and getting to somebody who can actually help you and make a difference. You had to um and this is like, oh man, you had to write actual letters, whether you wrote them physically or wrote them on a computer. It was like snail mail, so it took days. It was like crazy. I mean, it was so much more challenging to get to
Mhm.
the source and to um and there was always sort of a gatekeeper between you and an audience that actually might love you or like you or
Mm.
connect with you. Now, there might have been a gatekeeper who says, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're going to love you, Tamika. I don't know if they're going to love you, Mitchell. I don't know if they're going to love your work. But now there is no gate. The internet has made it almost favored nations. You can put your stuff out there and people
Mm.
can find you and they can be the decision makers as to whether they want to follow you or, continue to support your career or whatever you're putting out there. You
Mhm.
get like immediate validation or not.
So true. Gosh, I remember when I first got in the industry when I was putting brads into scripts and I had to three-hole punch scripts, put brads on them. There's these little like things you put in a script so it holds the paper together. And I had
Mhm.
to send messengers. I remember I had to call messengers to pick up a script to send it to someone. This is called old school PDF
Oh
emails.
yeah.
Like
Old
now, all you
school.
have to do is just send a PDF of your script in an email. Back in the day, I remember this. I had to call up a messenger and I had to get a script to an agent's office before 6 p.m. or else I was going to get fired from my boss. And it was one of those very high, stressful, swimming with sharks entourage situations. And it was so true. It was so hard to get past the gatekeeper. And as you know, a writer and getting into TV, what were the barriers that you were facing, but how were you able to get past that and get into the industry and be successful with it?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I have to say I was lucky because my very first script that I wrote, I mean, as the story goes, my brother was writing like scripts before me. I was writing poetry and stuff like that. And I had this idea and I told him about it. I was like, I have this great idea for a screenplay, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, that is a good idea. And I was like, will you write it? And he's like, oh, no, I will not. He's like, that is your idea. And I was like, yeah, but I don't write scripts. He's like, well, I guess you better learn. So I basically, read up some of the books that were out at the time that everybody was reading, Sid Field and the Screenwriter's Bible, and there's a couple of others. And now I think the one that everybody's reading is Save the Cat.
Oh
That's
yes, good old
like
Save the Cat.
one, right? But yeah, so I read those books and I just started writing my idea. And then I realized after a while I had written like several pages of just almost like notes or almost like a treatment, I would call it. And then I was like, why am I writing? I might as well just write the script. And this was pre-final draft. So I was doing that whole trying to
Format it
yes,
with
it
a
was
tab
terrible.
button. Oh
It was
my
awful.
goodness.
It was the worst thing ever. I was like, if that doesn't like stop you from writing your first script, I don't know, then you're in there, you're committed, trying to tab and make it look right and
Oh my gosh.
guessing.
When you
what
make a
the-
mistake, you need to like white out.
Dude, it was terrible. But yeah, so I just jumped right in and I got lucky because my first script got a lot of I got a lot of validation from my first screenplay. So
Wow.
it like won the Gordon Parks Independent Film Award from the IFP. It was like a Sundance finalist. Like all this stuff started to happen. And I didn't know what I was doing. Like back then, I had no idea. I didn't even know what Sundance really was. I had no idea of what a big deal it was that I was a finalist for the labs. You know what I mean?
Oh
And
wow.
I had no idea. I was in New York too, so it was all. And I started writing. The other thing that nobody really does anymore, like unsolicited, I would like send out queries.
Yes.
I had no idea what I was doing. And but it worked out for me because that first script really allowed me to feel worthy, right?
Mm.
It's hard, if you don't get a little bit of encouragement, it can be challenging. You have to figure out a way to encourage yourself. Like, I know this is good, right? I know this is good. And I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep getting it out there. But I got a little bit of encouragement, my very first script, which really helped sort of make me believe even more, right? I
Mm.
believed that it could happen. And I was getting meetings because of the Gordon Parks Award. I was getting meetings before I was even in LA. So
Nice.
that really helped. And then I realized that I had to just keep writing. I had to keep writing. And because a contest was sort of my entree into the world, I
Mhm.
just kept applying for things. I felt like if you just keep applying, something will land. So I've applied, and you know this, Mitchell, because
Yeah.
I sort of encourage everybody for the CDDP to just keep applying, even if you get like a no, because
Mhm.
although I got that first validation, there are plenty of programs that I've applied to that I didn't get into. And I've applied to them many times. And then there's some that I've applied to 3, 4, 5 times and eventually got in. Some I never got in, but I do believe in, putting yourself out there, throwing that spaghetti against the wall. Your script. It's your script spaghetti.
And it's you were doing the manager's job or the agent's job, and it's such great advice because there are a lot of people out there who want to just create this one script and they sit on it and they wait for that one day that the one manager is going to find them
Right.
and the agent will find them, and
Yeah.
finally they'll get their chance. And what you did was become your own manager, and you made your future happen because you said, I'm just going to do this myself. That's what I loved. Sometimes when you are naive, when you first start out, it's the best because you haven't gotten rejected yet. And
Yeah.
so you start. I remember this when I was first cold pitching scripts as a manager, and I had studio system. It was like the IMD Pro for the
Right.
industry, and I had to call out for specs, and I had no idea. I never got into sales, and I was so naive that I just picked up the phone and started calling. I just like, all right, I've got this script. It's about a woman in the cabin with a monster outside, and just rejection after rejection. But at the first couple of times, like it was, I grew a thick skin, and when it comes to the industry, it's really becoming okay with rejection,
Yeah.
because I think that the like you said, you have to keep on applying, and don't let the rejection build up and hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that's
Yeah,
what a lot of
finding a way to manage your hurt feelings. Because I mean, you can still get hurt. It's gonna always hurt because you're an artist, and no matter how much someone says, don't take it personally. It's like, no matter how much I say, it's not personal. We had a bunch of people. They were all so good. You guys were amazing. If you were not one of the ones, you're gonna be like,
I
yeah, but still, it
I
wasn't me.
know.
You know.
The life of an artist, I swear, it's a great life, but it's also such a petty life of your feelings. Like, it's like, oh, you disliked my post. Like, oh, I didn't get accepted. Or, oh, you gave me 3 notes on my script. I'm not worthy. And it's such a battle between you and yourself and your ego of, like, how much are you worth? And so, with
Yeah.
that being said, like, when you got into film, like directing, like,
Mhm.
how did you get the confidence to start directing, especially coming as a writer?
Yeah. I would say that I'm still not as confident of a director as I would like to be. I think that,
Mm,
directing, it's like writing in a way. Like as soon as I see that blank page and I'm starting a script, I'm still like, oh man, so what? Whoa, I gotta fill that up. I gotta make that happen. I mean, you you can do it because you've done it, but still there's that. But that's a whole blank page, and I have to fill it up with 90 to 120 pages or whatever it is. So I think directing is the same. It's like, okay, here's a whole new vision, whatever, Pat, and I have to put all the pieces together. I guess now my brain comes to it almost from a more of a producerial, like I see the
mm,
pictures and then the vision starts to come together. I see like all these individual things in it as from a producer head because I've been mostly producing these days, right? And so yeah, that's how I sort of my directing has changed. And I feel like the more that you have people surrounding you, supporting your vision, then that's
mhm,
how your confidence sort of starts to build as a director. You have your DP, you have your
mhm,
producers, you have actors that you really love and believe in who can execute your vision. You have a great script. I think once all of that started, then you can't have you're like start to see it. It's just like, okay, now I know what to do. It's all here. The pot is right there. I just need to,
mhm.
spice it, put them in at the right time, adjust a few things. How's that flavor?
Yeah, it's true
Talking
because
like a cook, and I'm so not.
I'm sure you're a good cook. I'm sure I look at the kitchen in the background, so it's you put it there for a reason. Chef
Better
Tamika.
lighting. It's better
That's
lighting
right. You got
anyway.
the backlight right there. You've got your fill. You've got
Right?
your key. It's
A little
planned.
production value going on.
Exactly. See,
Little
this is
butterfly.
this is on the go direction. Anyone who's on the podcast on iTunes, you should go on YouTube and watch the video. It's amazing. No, I totally agree with you about being surrounded by people who believe your vision, especially as a director, because I directed a short film 2 weeks ago. And I had I had my camera up, I had my DP, I had my AC, I had my grip gap PAs, actors, and a producer. And as a director, trying to do that all by yourself is such a pain in the ass. And not only that, it takes away from your creative vision because you're worried about how am I going to call Panera Bread right now to feed my crew while I'm in the middle of a shot trying to get this my actor to cry on camera.
Right?
So you can't do it. It's like it's a completely different hat you have to wear. And so I tell people also that it's important to know the different departments in
Yeah.
filmmaking. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a director, you should know how to be a DP. You should know your lenses. You should know your different lighting. Can
Mhm.
you tell, like, how can I create a film noirish look with an RE650 kit? Or do I know what a sky panel is? Do I know what C47s? Like,
Right.
it's really good to know that so you can really direct your crew and they can know that you've been there. I think that when the crew knows, like, you've been in the trenches and you've also produced, there's more of a trust. And then you also have the language. Like, all
Yes.
right, give me that 50-foot stinger over there and set up
Right.
that C stand and throw up some diffusion and that flag. And then next thing you know, it's set up. Like, oh, thank you. I got a
Right.
team.
Yeah.
And for you, Tamika, when you started, directing and you were writing and you were producing, like, do you feel now like those are key integral parts that have been helping each other and influencing them to make you just a more all-around creative person? Or do you feel like they're separate hats?
Yeah. Well, I do feel like it's all connected. I definitely feel like it's all connected. And I mean, I also like right now I'm in development at a film company. And
Mm,
so it's super helpful because I know how to talk to directors and I know how to talk to writers and how to talk to editors and stuff like that. So, not just seeking content and supporting the directors and supporting the writers and the other producers and all of that kind of stuff really comes in handy. And so I do think it's all connected. I'm trying to think, have I ever the only time that I've only worn one hat really in the last few years is with my foundation
mhm,
where I was just producing, right?
mm,
Because we had directors and the scripts were coming from the kids and they were working with like high caliber talent like Diablo Cody or other major screenwriters. So they were kind of handling that and I was really just producing. So I was like that hat is very specific.
mhm.
And I do like producing, and especially when it's like a high level, everybody knows their job. Everybody's just doing their job in their lane. It's so different when you're doing independent
Mm.
and learning how to like transition from doing an independent shoot, whether you're a writer, director, or a producer on an independent shoot versus a shoot that's a little bit more, what's the word? Not professional, but
Higher in budget?
yeah, I'll say high budget or um, professional in a different way. Not like
Yeah.
professional in the way that these people are used to working with big budgets.
Mhm,
So when they're used
mhm,
to working with big budgets, there's no like, okay, everybody's helping and doing what they can.
mhm.
Everyone's in their lane doing what they are basically professional at,
Oh,
right? Like,
yeah.
so the wardrobe person is like, oh, well, I'm a pro at
Mhm,
this.
mhm.
I've won Academy Awards, right? Or I've been nominated, right? The director you're not going to have like people doing a bunch of different things
Yes.
like in an
The
independent shoot,
PA is, also a boom op and is also the line producer.
right? No, that's not happening. So, I mean, those sets are amazing. And I mean, both environments can produce an amazing
Mhm.
product, an end product, right? Both of those environments can produce an amazingly professional and incredible end product. It's just that the people involved in what they're used to doing is very different. You're like, no, stay in your lane. Don't pick up that thing over there. I mean, on a
Exactly.
set like independent set, a producer, you might
Oh, yeah.
actually pick up and move some stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, sometimes the producer will have to, like, stand in and, like, clap.
Right? No,
Like,
on these other sets, they're like, yeah, don't touch anything. It's all you
exactly.
need. We can get in a lot of trouble.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm just trying to help. Don't help.
You know what's funny to me is that I just became a COVID compliance officer, like certified.
Yeah.
And I just did it just because I just want to get certified. I don't know. During COVID, I just wanted to complete a few things and be a little bit extra. That's who
That's
I
great.
am. And you learn a lot about, the different departments and separating everybody and making sure everyone's 6 feet apart. You have your PPE. You're not getting in each other's lane. And it's so true about having that support as a director. It's so important. And that's why I think CDDP is inspiring for me, because you're giving that opportunity to directors who are used to independent productions, who have to deal with $5,000 budgets or $10,000 budgets. And the client's like, I want to make it look like a Colgate commercial. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do here? Like, not get paid, pay out of pocket? And you're giving us the opportunity to work with six-figure budgets, or even down the line, I want to work with seven-figure budgets because I don't want to deal with set design. I want to have an art department. I want a camera department, and I want
Right.
a post-production house that does everything. And I'm not having to jump in and color correct. So I I would love for you to just explain, CDDP and how its mission and its values and how it's helping filmmakers and directors in general.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is to we know that people who apply for CDDP are already wonderful directors. So we're really just trying to create a space where we can give you all of the tools, any specific commercial knowledge that you might need, like with our workshops. If you haven't specifically been in the professional commercial world in that way, where you're like pitching all the time, creating treatments, dealing with clients, and all of that. So we do have like a workshop series that's about 6 to 8 weeks as well, an intensive workshop series, because we think that's a really important aspect. Like, you can be the best director out there directing shorts, directing whatever, and then but not know how the commercial world specifically works. So
Mm.
that's really, we're trying to give people that opportunity. So we choose 5 fellows. Usually we have about 300 or 400 people apply. We choose 5 fellows. And then now we've also been choosing finalists to participate in the workshop part, as well as a couple of other little parts, but mostly the workshop part. And we give the fellows a $15,000 grant. And we team them with a commercial production company. And that commercial production company basically helps guide them. Well, first they produce their spec for them, so the $15,000, it really goes towards producing the spec. And the commercial production company guides them through the production of their spec, and also, allows them to come in and shadow and listen to phone calls and anything like that that might be helpful to them. And then at the end, after they've done the workshop series, they've created their spec. We do a big, huge showcase where we have like 300 or 400 people show up from the commercial industry. And we've been doing that at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which has been amazing. And so we do this big, huge celebration and screening of the spec commercials. And we do little mini documentaries on each director so people can get to know who they are. And then hopefully they get signed, or they're at least, go back out into the world and get work. And we've been very, very successful with that. So we're super happy and proud of our fellows, and not just our fellows, but our workshoppers. We call them workshoppers too, because they are working and getting signed as well, which is amazing.
Ah, it's so cool to hear. I remember when I first heard about it, and you actually invited me to one of the screenings. And the screening, just to see the energy in the room, but also the different voices and, directors on stage and the different styles. I love that it wasn't just a specific style that you were creating. Like, you let them become the person they want to be. It's not like you got to stick to this box. No,
Right.
it's like be free, be free. And here's a production company, here's the grant, here's support. Go do what you've always wanted to do for a commercial, because that's so important. I think that creatives, especially directors, they feel so limited by resources and budgets. You can't really have your creative mind flourish when you have limitations. And
That is
so
true. That
I'm
is true.
I'm glad you do that. And so why do you feel like it's important to really have diversity in the commercial directing space, and in general in the entertainment industry?
Well, it's super important for everyone to have themselves, have a reflection of themselves um, in the world, like an authentic reflection of who they are versus, through the lens of a stereotype or stereotypes. We get it. Stereotypes are not necessarily completely false, but it's just a very small, limited view of something. So you see a something portrayed that doesn't have um, that culture or that person involved in it, and you have these people portraying that, and you're going, okay, well, I can't relate to that. That's like one little sliver of, yeah, I know somebody like that, but that's not the world of that culture, right? That's just a little piece of it. And
Mhm.
so it's just, I believe that these images and things are so important because it really helps us to understand each other and to understand our universality of each other. It sort of helps to create empathy. It helps us to create for people to understand how much alike we are within our differences. You know, our cultures, all of these things, there might be some, but there's this kernel of actual connection in it. But it's important for everyone to see all of the other colors as well, right? So it's important for confidence, for kids who, I mean, I could just go on and on about like kids who see themselves, you know, and like when I posted some stuff about like a kid who saw a kid in a wheelchair. I think Target did it. They did a ad campaign, and it was a little kid in a wheelchair, and then the mother took a picture of her kid in a wheelchair looking at this kid and just like fascinated because the kid had never seen himself
Oof,
on
that's
an ad
powerful.
like that. It was amazing. And, you know, we see stuff like this all the time. I mean, you know, Black Panther, you know, we could even
Mhm,
go to the presidency, right? Images
mhm.
of President Barack Obama was powerful community who has not really had that particular type of reflection as often as we should, right? And so, yeah, you got me on a
Yeah.
soapbox.
No, 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 don't worry about it. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this because I'm I'm also very passionate about it because as an Asian male, all I had to really relate to when I was growing up was Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. Okay. And
Who we
so
love, but
which
still,
I mean, that's why I'm a martial artist. And
right?
at the same time, there are other stories about the
Yes.
Asian community. That's why Justin Lin, Better Luck Tomorrow, and other independent features that I've watched at the VC Film Festival. Shout out to the VC, Visual
Mhm.
Communications. And it's so important for myself to see that. And I've seen the shift with
Yeah.
a lot of Asian faces, of course, with Crazy Rich Asians and then Aquafina and a lot of the YouTubers. And I do love that more people are open and accepting of different colors and different faces.
Yeah.
I'm still tripping out that there's a K-pop revolution right now, and I'm just gonna say, oh, young white girls are like attracted to Asian boy band. Like I just didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming, and then it's amazing. I'm so happy about it. Well done, like BTS and all the K-pop creators out there, because you are creating a new form of what Asian male masculinity and creativity is all about. And there's other forms as well. You have your martial artists and the raid or whatnot. And there's also BTS. So let's have that
So
diversity out
important.
there.
Yeah, it's so important to have those images to be inspired by. I mean, I'll say the same. I mean, I totally relate to what you're saying because from a Black woman perspective, you know, having Black women celebrated in a certain kind of way is not typical. That's new.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm,
like, yeah, guys,
mhm.
that's new. I mean, we might celebrate ourselves and celebrate in our community, but now there's like all of these images that people are embracing as, you know, it's like, no, that's beautiful, that's amazing. And then we have all of these women doing all of these amazing things, these powerful images. It really makes a difference. Totally, it's like inspiring.
It is. And do you feel now with 2020 and the just the year in general, do you see a shift or at least a transition or a change with how the industry is accepting of new voices and also the messages being put out there after such a tumultuous year?
Yes, I totally do. I don't think that this is a phase like, um, you know, a lot of times in the Black community, you know, they had the Black exploitation, and then they
Hmm.
had the, you know, they have these little pockets or whatever, or it's a flash in the pan, you know, like Crazy Rich Asians. Are we going to see another movie that has a, you know, it's like
Right.
that, right? Like, no, it's not a flash in the pan. I think it's more of a transformation than, you know, a phase. Like everyone, you know, a lot of times people worry, is this just a phase? Are they people going to forget about diversity? No, I don't think it's a phase. I definitely think it's a transformation. I think people are interested, curious, interested, and want more stories that are diverse.
Mhm.
And I think they're welcoming those voices. I truly do. Um, yeah, I think, oh, and you know, there's a slogan. I hope I get it right. Can't tell stories about us without us.
Ooh,
You
I'm putting
can't,
that on my I'm putting that on my Twitter. That's
right. You
going on the
can't tell
status.
stories about us without us, which it doesn't mean that everybody can't tell any story. It
Hmm.
basically means that if you're going to tell an indigenous story, or something that's really culturally specific, then you probably need to have someone like that on your team. Doesn't mean that you can't have everybody on your team, but you still should have someone like that on your team that you're sort of, kind of communicating with. I don't even want to say deferring to, but at least getting their opinion about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
That's so true. Okay, because I mean, there are times in the past where there were no voices in the room from the specific community that the movie was talking about, and it was
Yeah.
very exploitative of that community and that culture.
Yeah.
And for you with commercials, I know that commercials, filmmaking, TV, there's a difference in storytelling. So
Yeah.
what do you feel is like different as a director coming from the film world or from the music video world or from YouTube? What is the process of commercial, directing, and how does uh, what you do at CDDP help that, and what do you teach?
So really, I would say the main difference with commercial directing is that it's not the product, the end product. You have to keep in mind that it's commerce as well as it's a product that you're
Mhm.
selling ultimately, right? And you have other people that you're trying to please. So it is a collaborative thing where they want you for your particular vision and your particular talent, but they want you to express that talent and vision within the construct of knowing what the end goal is. And the end goal is we're selling a product.
Sales.
So it's sort of like, I look at, I'm going to just say it, Spike Jones, right?
Mm.
Spike Jones knows how to make something amazing and tell an incredible story. And then we're like, oh yeah, that's an Apple product.
Exactly. Oh, Kenzo. I don't even know what
I'm
Kenzo
about to
is.
get that Apple product. But yeah, but
Yes.
that commercial was crazy. I mean, it's like a perfect marriage is what you're looking for of your vision and your talent and your uniqueness as a director, but don't forget you're selling a product and that you want to make your client happy. You have to make your client happy. With these
Wow.
other things, it's like it's all you. You're selling you. YouTubers are selling, influencers are selling themselves. And then in the process of selling themselves, once people have fallen in love with them, then products come that they also are selling. But the difference is it is their unique self that is
Mhm.
selling that product, right? People just
Mhm.
want you, they love that person. They're like, if that person says it's great, like Tabitha Brown, for instance, you know who
Mhm.
she is?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
so she's amazing, and it's all
Yeah.
her, right? So she can pick up this pen and sell it. Like,
Exactly.
y'all, I just used this pen and oh my god. And you're like, okay, I'm kidding.
Million sold.
It's all about her,
And it's
right?
that's it's an interesting conversation. We can go on and on about this because I have to sell brands on creating videos and branded content. I just had shot a video yesterday for this brand called That's It, which is like a fruit bar company, and I had to figure out what is your end goal, and then how am I going to create something that looks cool, but also, like you said, make sales. And so
Right.
what do you think that is? What's that process of like getting into that mindset of how do I make something look amazing and innovative in my voice, but also it's going to sell these products? Like it's a crazy balance.
It is a crazy balance. I mean, m- it's like it has to come from you. The first thing is they like you, right? Like if you're
Hmm.
talking to them or whatever, they already like something about you or your work. So it's like bringing that something about you and your work in some way to this product, right? Like selling and a lot of with commercials, they've already been in a room creating what the thing is going to be to a
That's
certain
right.
degree. So it's not like you have to do that much work. Really what you're doing is, they're presenting you with a car and they're giving you some parameters and they're saying, now we need you to tell us what color this car is going to be. How does it need to, what engine are we going to put in it to make it drive and look? I mean, you sort of like that, right? But you already have the car and some parameters about the car. And so now you're like, well, how's Mitchell going to drive this car or put his, what did they used to say? They used to say, oh, it was a show like, they did it with apartments and things like that. It's like, oh, blank this car, blank this house, blank this,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a
you
reality
know what I'm
TV
talking
show. Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
It's some
Gosh,
slang that I'm not, can't remember.
okay, got you. Pimp my ride, pimp my
Right.
yes.
There you
I was
go.
gonna say queer ride, but no, no, no. It's pimp my ride. We said
Pimp
slang.
my
That's right.
ride, right? How you
Yeah,
gonna pimp this product, right? That's really
so
what it
true.
is, right? How you gonna pimp this phone? How you gonna pimp this mug, right?
Oh my gosh, that's like the best analogy. Okay, I'm looking at all my videos differently now. I'm gonna pimp this product. That's it. That's what's
Yeah,
happening. So all my clients after this, to let you know, I'm pimping your product.
pimp your product.
Got you. So during this whole creative phase, Tamika, when you have a commercial to direct, or even for you, when you have to write a script, how do you get into your creative flow? Like, what if you hit a dead end, a writer's block? You got 82 pages to go. How do you get back into that creative flow?
Let's see. So I don't know. I writer's block. I don't know about writer's block.
Yeah, you're like, I just do it. I got this.
So I would say, let me see, my type of writer's block, I would say I just have to step away from it.
Mhm.
So if I hit writer's block, or I feel like I've come to whatever I can produce for right now, and I'm like, I don't know where to go from here. Then I watch television, I clean my house. I, I used to go to the movies, go
Mhm.
take myself out to get something to eat. No, seriously, this is like a real thing.
Yeah.
And and then if that stuff doesn't work, then I I do some research. So I do some research, or I I look at my character breakdowns or something like that. Like I go into the specifics of it so that my characters will talk to me again. And I'm like,
Nice.
okay, y'all are
Word.
mad at me. I guess I don't know you well enough. So let me let me see what's happening here. Okay, these are your quirks. These are your okay. And how does that relate to this person over here? All right. So you're gonna talk to me now?
Wow. The job as a writer, I people don't understand who are outside the industry. Writers have to come up with the character's persona. And not only that, but the distinct language that they speak. Like that,
Yeah,
I try to write. I have a writing partner, and I can't do it at right this moment. I sure I can figure it out, but it's such a unique mindset you have to be in, because I know I've taken master classes with Shonda Rhimes and different types of writers like Aaron Sorkin, and it really is, you have to jump into the body of your character and
yeah,
then think, how would they respond to this situation? And then you have the actor who has to interpret that into a
yeah,
character. And then you have the director who has to get that performance out of the character, out of the actor, so it looks like the vision in his mind. Like,
yeah,
just that process is so, it's a symbiotic relationship between the actor, the writer, and of course the director and the producer as well. But that
yeah.
I love talking about this. And I mean, I am such a filmmaker at heart that I can go on and on, but I know you're busy, Tamika, so I'm gonna let you go in a bit. But before you go, I would love for you to tell all the filmmakers and directors and content creators out there who want to get into the commercial space. What is your advice to them, and what should be their next steps?
So, it's hard to give a general what your next steps are because everybody's at a different place in their journey.
Mhm.
So I would say, I mean, if you're already a director directing amazing stuff, I would say doing I know this is, some people would say, doing a spec for real.
I love specs. It's, oh, guys, make a spec. Just max out a credit card. Just make it happen.
Right? Depending on who you ask, but the spec has to be good. Like you can't just make a spec. It literally, and some of the production companies and the sales reps will say this, it can't look like a spec. That's the conundrum. It has to, we know you're making it for $1, but it still can't look like you made it for $1. So I would say definitely making a spec that makes a splash. Like once you make your spec, submit it to all those, competitions and stuff that you can submit it to, and hopefully that will be sort of your in. There's a lot of companies now that have sprung up that are specifically looking for underrepresented talent as well. I mean, they're looking for people on their roster. Also, other companies are, they are looking for talented directors to put on their roster now that they had not given a look see before. So this is a really great time for people to, I would say, go to the smaller companies, go to the smaller mid-level companies, and put yourself out there and stay in touch with them. Because if you start to cultivate relationships with production companies, then you can always, when you're ready, they'll be your huckleberry. They are open to creating a relationship. They may not sign you right away, but if you're talented, they will continue to keep an eye out and you can create a relationship with them.
Love that. And that's really the advice that I've heard from, Don and Jason and a lot of other people that are part of the CDDP and then in the network. The spec is so crucial. And I know that a lot of people out there are just going to say, I don't want to work for free. I don't want to go out of pocket. There are times in life where you do have to invest yourself and you truly believe,
You know
max
what?
out that card.
Yes, I'm going to say, I'll give you a personal story. Like, I do believe in that. Someone once told me, and I don't believe that. And I was like, I didn't believe it when they told it to me. I
Mm,
understand why they said it, but they were saying it from a perspective of already being successful, right? So they
mhm.
say, never use your own money, right? If you're a producer, never use your own money and all of this stuff. And I was like, well, that's true. If you never see like producers who have made it in like the big leagues using their own money. They
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah.
They can go ask somebody else for money because they already have a name. But for yourself, you invest in yourself every day. Like
Mm,
if you go to, it's like going to somebody who it's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna go gamble some money. You're investing in that experience, right? So you're investing, or go to amusement park. Okay, I'm going
mhm.
to amusement park. I'm investing in that experience. You can invest in yourself in the same kind of way. I decided to invest in myself to create. I took a workshop because you're always learning. There's never an end to your learning and development. I wanted to create an original pilot. I have never created my own personal original pilot before. I'd written other stuff, but this was different. And so I was like, wow, that's kind of expensive. Like that workshop's a little pricey. But I was like, you know what? You have to invest in yourself. If you don't invest in you, how can you ask somebody else to? You kind of have to
Oof,
have your own skin in the game, right?
so
So
true.
I did that and I was so happy. Like I created my original pilot. I'm out pitching my pilot. I believe in my pilot. I love it. And hopefully my pilot will get picked up and get made, but it doesn't matter. I will never regret investing in myself in that way, because that pilot still also shows everyone else how it's another level of my writing. So it's
Mhm.
also uh, another calling card that I have, right? So always invest, and I've invested in my own short films too. Like I've done that. So
Mhm.
it's important and it makes a difference. It
It
does make a difference.
it does, and sometimes actually when you invest in yourself, you actually have more freedom because you aren't tied to someone else's money. So you call the shots to yourself.
That's
And
right.
that's great advice, Tamika. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on this podcast. You really opened my eyes to the world of directing and in your life. And I'm just grateful that you're in my life and that
Well, thank
CDDP is
you.
here to support directors like us and to really have opportunities ready for people who just want to tell their story. And so before we go, I would love for you to tell people where to find you, where to find CDDP, and how can we support.
Awesome. Well, if you're interested in the CDDP, you can go to www.cddprogram.org, and all my information is on there. You can reach me directly. If you're interested in my nonprofit, checking that out, you can go to makeafilmfoundation.org. You can find me at BAOBABT, BAOBABT on Instagram, and regular, I can't accept any more friends on Facebook, but maybe when some people drop off, maybe when
So
I do
popular.
it's like, they limit you at 5,000 and then you have to create a fan page. I'm like, I'm not creating a fan page.
Tamika, you need to create your own fan page and invest in your fan page.
And then Alchemist 26 is my Twitter, but I have to learn how to use Twitter better. I'm still a little old school. I'm still using Facebook, and yes, I'm using Instagram. So you can check me out there, and I'm available. I'm sort of accessible. I shouldn't say that. My mother would hate it. Just like stalkers. Okay.
No, I thank you so much. Seriously, everyone, support Tamika, support the program. Go on there and try to get through to her Facebook and make a fan page for her. She deserves one. Okay. Thank you so much, Tamika. Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchel Dumlao. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.